So welcome everyone to a class on the core of our being. So if you would, if it's comfortable for you, just to find a seat for a few minutes. And if that is not what you need this morning, you need to go to your back, you could do that. You could lie on your back. And just close your eyes and settle into your seat, allowing gravity to help you rest and find some stillness. And just take a few rounds of breath in, um, in a way to bring you here and allow you to be very present. And you can keep your eyes closed down if it feels okay for you, or you could open them. I'm going to chat just a little bit about what the core is. So, anatomically, the core consists of any of the intrinsic muscles that live close to the bone. So we often think of the core as just the six pack, right? The rectus abdominis. But it also includes the lower muscles, the lower belly muscles, the transverse abdominis. It includes the side waist, the internal and external obliques. It includes the muscles that line the spine, the erector spinae, and it includes the smaller multifidi muscles that also contribute to stability in the spine. It includes the pelvic floor, so the pelvic floor from pubic bone to tailbone. We'll access that a little bit today. To some lesser extent, it also includes your glutes and the muscles in the pelvis, and your latissimus dorsi, these big backside muscles, and the trapezius up in here. You'll feel some inner leg work today, and that's included in the core. So we have this sort of cylinder, right? That all is the core. And if we speak about the core in a metaphysical way, we're talking about outside the physical. What does it mean to have a strong core? So, what is it that gives you strength and that brings you stability in your life? What's important to you? What's close to the bone for you? So I like to start with something like that, just put that in our brain, because as we practice in the body, we inevitably will touch on some deeper levels, and something almost always pops up for us when we're in some hard work or where our mind drifts off somewhere else. So I would encourage you to come back to either any of the physical cues that I give, or to just bring your attention to that, the concept of what is really important to you, what's close to the bone for you. Okay, so when we think about what's close to the bone for us, what is important and matters, how do we access that? How do we access that? And with the intent of finding what is most real, but what is most true for us. So we can practice and practice and practice and build our strength in our physical core and our arms and everything else. And if that transfers to a greater inner stability and a greater sense of clarity, so that we can then externally use that for good, then our yoga has served us. Okay, great. So I'm gonna move over to my mat now, and we're gonna start in the crocodile position. So if you know that, go ahead and go, and I'll explain and show over on the mat. So before you come to the floor, if you're already there, that's fine, and I'll talk you through this. But often we just bring the hands together and we rest our forehead on the back of our hands. Today, I'd like you to bring your hands to your just above the elbow. So your hands, opposite hand to opposite elbow, and then that's what you're going to rest your head on. So you're on your belly, opposite hand to opposite elbow, and then rest your forehead on your forearms. Your feet are as wide as the edge of your mat, and toes can be out if that feels okay. This is the traditional posture. And if that's uncomfortable, you can take the tops of your feet to the floor. But now within this position, and I'll just lift my head so that I can speak to you. In this position, you feel the chest is lifted and you can feel your belly against the floor. So just take some normal breathing, not too much intention to the breathing, but just breathing in and out and feel the breath, okay, the breath as it moves. So we have air and we have breath. So air is the gaseous substance that moves in and out of our lungs, and breath is this sort of, what is happening in the body when you take an inhale and an exhale. So it's a little bit different. So just feel your breath. And so on the inhale, you should feel some pressure against your abdomen. And on the exhale, you'll feel a relaxing of that pressure. So just go with that for a few more breaths. And then on your next exhale, slightly draw your navel up and in. Inhale, feel the pressure against your abdomen, and exhale, release the breath and draw your navel up and in. And now bring your attention to your pelvic floor. So the hammock-shaped area between your pubic bone and your tailbone. And on your next exhale, slightly draw that area in. A little squeezing in. Exhale. Inhale, release. You'll feel your abdomen against the floor. Exhale, draw your navel up and in, and draw your pelvic floor up and in. Okay, so one of the reasons that we are working here is that in addition to building strength um, in the core, we want there to be space. We want there to be space for the breath to move freely. So if we're just gripping, that's different than building strength. Yeah. So we'll kind of pay attention to that a little bit too as we practice. So now bring your legs together, tops of your feet to the floor. And on your next exhale, just slightly gather your buttocks together. Inhale. Exhale, draw your navel up and in, gather your pelvic floor, gather your buttocks together. And I like the word gather here as opposed to squeezing or clenching. And on the inhale, each time you'll feel your belly pressing against the floor. And then on the exhale, try combining all those three actions, navel up and in, pelvic floor gathered, and buttocks gathered. Okay, you can release that now and we'll roll onto our backs. And we'll open up a little bit through the side body. So bend your knees and place the soles of your feet to the floor. Bring your arms in the goalpost position. And then just let your knees rock back and forth, side to side. You'll feel a stretch and opening on one side of your body and a little bit of contraction on the other side. So kind of in the side body now. And then the next time your knees fall to the right, extend the left arm long and stretch a little bit more through the left side body. Feel the contraction on the right side body. Inhale your knees back to center. Drop your knees to the left and reach your right arm long. Now you'll feel some opening in the right side body and some contraction in the left side body. Just go back and forth with that pattern. So knees go to the right, stretch the left arm long. Inhale back to center, knees to the left, stretch the right arm long. Inhale and exhale. And now, can you also add, as you move back and forth, on the exhale, you gather the navel up and in, you gather the pelvic floor, and you even gather the buttocks a little bit towards one another, towards midline. So back and forth. If it's too much to concentrate or think too hard about all those three things, just allow one of those things to sort of lead for you there. So maybe you just draw the navel up and in. Maybe you think about drawing the pelvic floor, gathering the pelvic floor up. We'll come back to center and now take your legs long in the mat. Stretch your arms overhead. Reach your right heel to the right corner of your mat and reach your left foot over. So you can have your feet right beside each other, or you might drape your left ankle over your right ankle. And then bring both arms over to the top right-hand corner of your mat. So you're in a big extended C, like a C curve or a banana. So left side of the body gets a little bit of stretch. Maybe a little contraction on the right side. You could take your hand down to your right side body and see if you've got some of the external obliques fired up there. And then come back through center, take your left heel to the left corner of your mat and your right foot alongside, or drape your right foot over your left ankle, and then bring both arms to the left side, left top corner. If possible, your back stays on the floor, shoulder blades on the floor. So we're doing a lot of the subtle work first on the floor, just to get familiar with everything. Come back to center. And now bend your knees, take the soles of your feet to the floor, and take your hands to the top of your thighs and just press the thighs away. You'll feel a little arch happening below your back. And then exhale and just draw everything back down to the floor. And draw your navel up and in. And then inhale, press into your thighs and create a little arch in the back. And then on your exhale, draw everything down towards the floor, navel up and in. And just do a few rounds like that. So we're moving the pelvis forward and backwards as we draw, gather the navel. And you might add on your next exhale, gathering the pelvic floor up. Inhale to move the pubic bone away from the navel, and exhale, you move the pubic bone back towards the navel, draw the navel back towards your spine, and gather the pelvic floor. Good. And then we'll let that go. Now we'll bring the knees, stack the knees over the hips. Okay, so lower legs are parallel to one another and parallel to the floor. Knees are bent. And you're going to pull your toes back towards your shins here. And it's like you're standing on an imaginary wall. And now press your hands into your thighs and press back into your hands. So an isometric movement here, and feel the engagement in the front of your abdomen. Just feel the muscles working there. And if you want to access the lower bit of your abdomen, the transverse abdominis, take your feet a little further away from your hips. Now you should feel some action in the transverse abdominis as well. Good. Keep squeezing. Squeeze those muscles tight to the bone. Good. And release your feet to the floor. Just press up into your hips, or press your hips up into the air, and just relieve the front of your thighs for a couple of breaths. So sort of like a baby bridge. And then lower yourself back down to the floor. Great. Now we'll take we're going to take the right leg over the left leg. So squeeze the right leg over the left leg, and then just bring your knees up towards your chest. Take your hands up towards the ceiling, palms facing the ceiling, as if you were going to do a handstand on the ceiling. Good. Drop your knees slightly to the right. Don't overdo it yet. And bring your hands over to the left, pressing away to the left. Inhale back to center. Take the knees to the left. Press your hands over and up towards the right. Now you should feel the obliques working, the sideways. Inhale back to center. Exhale, knees come to the right, hands to the left, press away. If possible, you keep the shoulder blades close to the floor. Inhale back to center. Exhale, knees to the left, hands to the right. And back again. And knees to the right, hands to the left. Inhale back to center. And one more time, knees to the left, hands to the right. And come back to center and release. And here you could just take your legs long to rest the hip flexors, or you could press into your feet, lift your hips, little baby bridge, and just relieve the front of your thighs, the hip flexors there. Coming back down to the floor. If you have a block now, you're going to take the block between your upper inner thighs. And if you don't have a block, a book would do, or even a pillow. And now here we'll squeeze the block so you feel the inner thighs coming online. Feel now as you draw your navel up and in, feel the abdominals, the front rectus abdominis working. And we'll just take our hands and interlace them behind our head. Keep squeezing the block. Lower legs are parallel to one another and to the earth, and your toes are pulled back towards your shins. So as you squeeze the block, you can lift your head and chest, draw your low back towards the floor, navel up towards the spine, up and in towards the spine, and then release your head back to the floor. So it's just a few yogi crunches. So this mostly is working the front, the rectus abdominis. So as you lift, you'll squeeze those muscles tight to the bone, draw your navel up and in, and then release back down. So I like to come up on the exhale and release back down on the inhale. And you can do it the other way if you like. Just match the movement to the breath. So as you come up, you draw the navel up and in, and you draw the pelvic floor, gather the pelvic floor, you keep squeezing the block, and then you release back down. And let's try about, 2 to 6 more. Keep squeezing the block. Keep squeezing the block so the legs here are active. And you're moving slowly, really feeling all the engagement as we move up and down. And then once you've had enough of that, you can take your feet to the floor, remove the block, and again, stretch your legs long. If you do have the block, you could press into your feet and just slip the block under your sacrum, and then stretch your legs long, so countering the deep flexion of the hips with some deep extension here. Okay, and then from here, we're going to move on to our side. So you can come to one side, and you can either rest your head on your hand with your elbow bent, lower arm, or you could take the lower arm long and rest your head on your bicep. Great. And then take your feet, pull your toes back towards your shins, and bring your feet into the Tadasana shape, your feet and legs into the Tadasana shape. Your top hand you could use for balance, but we want to really feel the obliques working, the sideways working here to help us maintain balance in this position. So the side of your waist that's closest to the floor, draw that up away from the floor. Just draw that up away from the floor. So you're squeezing the side, the bottom side waist up towards the midline. And you could stay right here, or you could try reaching up through your top arm. And you could stay right here, or you could try reaching the top leg up just a few inches off the floor or away from your bottom foot, bottom leg. And you could stay right here, or you could reach the bottom leg up to have your feet come together. Keep drawing the side waist up, and then release everything down. And then we'll go to the other side. So settling in first, resting your head on your bicep, or you could bend the elbow and rest your head in your hand. And then just first of all, feeling like you're pulling the bottom side waist up towards the midline, squeezing up, pulling away. And you could stay right here, or you could lift the top arm up. And you could stay right here, or you could lift the top leg up. Great, and then you could stay right here, or you could lift the bottom leg to meet the top leg. Really engage the side waist up. If you roll out, it's fine. Just come back and start over. Right? And then we'll let all that go. Good. So now we'll come on to our bellies. And we'll work a little bit the back muscles, the erector spinae and the multifidi. So we'll come first just into that position with our hands stacked one on the other, elbows out to the side. So a little baby back bend. So rest your forehead on your hands. Draw your legs long. Press the tops of your feet into the floor. And inhale, as you inhale, press into your elbows and just lift your head and shoulders. And you should feel all the muscles along the spine working. And here you might add to gather the pelvic floor, gather the buttocks together, and sweep the navel up and in. And then we'll relax everything back down. Press and lift. Let's go for that, all that engagement again. And lower back down. Good, so we're not working one thing in isolation, but we're using the whole strength, the whole cylinder for this lifting. Good. Pressing tops of the feet into the floor, press and lift. Gather the navel up and in, gather the buttocks together, gather the pelvic floor, and release back down. Do a couple more just like that, just getting a sense of the back line coming on board here, the back body. Great. And then from here, we'll take the hands and we'll bring them alongside our waist. Rest your forehead on the floor. Great. Now lift your shoulder tops, so you squeeze your shoulder blades together, and lift your arms, pressing the palms of your hands towards the ceiling. Press your pubic bone into the floor. Draw your navel up and in, lift your legs, squeeze your buttocks. Then lift your head and shoulders. Very good. And then release back down. You could take one temple or cheek to the mat and softly rock your hips back and forth. And then go to the other side turn your gaze the other direction, cheek or temple to the mat. We'll come back to center. We'll do a couple more, a little bit deeper work with this bigger back bend. So now take your hands back behind you, lift your shoulder tops, reach your fingertips away. So palms down towards the floor now. And then press your pubic bone into the floor, draw your navel up and in, squeeze the legs together, lift head and shoulders. And release back down. Take one cheek to the mat or temple and just rock your hips softly back and forth. So one of the things we often skip in our work is integrating the work. So just take a breath in between to feel the integration. We're definitely going to up the ante here as we go through the class. So now interlace your hands at your sacrum. Draw your shoulder tops up. So squeeze shoulder blades together. Press your pubic bone into the floor. Squeeze your buttocks. Draw your navel up and in. Lift your legs. Reach your hands away as you lift your head and shoulders. Gaze is just right off the front of your mat. And release. And then just one more time here, one shoulder or one temple or cheek to the mat. Turn and rest the other temple or cheek to the mat. Great. Coming back to center, place your hands underneath your shoulders. Press yourself up and come into table position. So the knees are underneath the hips and the hands are underneath the shoulders. And just take a few cat-cows here. So on the inhale, you just let your spine relax towards the floor as you lift your gaze slightly. Heart stretches forward and tail feathers are spread. That is your cow. And on your cat, press into your hands, round your back towards the ceiling and draw your tailbone down towards your heels. Just a few rounds here into your spine, feeling the fluidity of the spine. And so we'll do a lot of familiar, we'll do a standing sequence here shortly with a lot of familiar poses. And hopefully what I've set you up for with the work on the floor is just to have a little bit more awareness of the core required. So we're moving from the core into all these positions, and we're finding the strength in our standing poses from the core, not just the legs. Okay, so on your next inhale, just hold that for a second. And then for this next exhale, we're going to move back to child's pose, but I want you to think about your engagement in your core taking you back into the position. So as you press into your hands and round your back, draw your navel in, gather the pelvic floor, and slowly bring your hips to your heels. And then you can rest your forehead here in child's pose. And then on your inhale, come on up. Curl your toes now under and press your hips up and back and extend your legs into downward facing dog. So come up way on your toes and lift your sit bones towards the ceiling and gather the pelvic floor in, gather the navel up towards the spine. And then from here, you can walk your feet, take as many steps as you need to come to your hands. In a fold, knees bent, body draped over the legs. And even here, as we inhale, press into your shins with your hands and reach your crown long. And as you exhale into Uttanasana, into the forward fold, scoop the navel up and in and gather from the pelvic floor. Maybe the buttocks even gather together a bit as you fold. And just do that a few times. So as you inhale, lengthen through your spine in a half lift. And as you exhale, feel for some real attention in the core, gathering the pelvic floor, upstroking the navel, gathering the buttocks into the forward fold. Just a few more times on your own rhythm. Inhale takes you into the half lift, and exhale brings you back into the fold. Inhale and exhale. Squeezing everything in. And then from here, we'll take our hands to our hips and press into your feet and hinge yourself up at the waist, coming into the Tadasana. Good. So now beginning in Tadasana. I don't know how many of you were in the Tadasana class the other day, but my legs were sore afterwards. Holy cow, I couldn't believe it. All right. So you can now face the long edge of your mat, and we'll take a big wide stance here. If you have a block and you want to use your block in the little standing sequence here, you can It's not necessary because we'll move through it a little quicker than we normally do, and really want the emphasis to be on finding that core strength and stability. Good. All right, so take your right foot out. So the right foot is lined up with the long edge of your mat. Turn your left toes in. Bending through the right knee, find your warrior two. If you need to open up your stance, do that. So as you inhale and exhale here, on the exhale, gather in to the core. Let's actually will vinyasa this. So as you inhale, you can straighten the front leg and bring the arms overhead. And now slowly in the exhale, pull the navel up and in, gather the navel up and in, gather the pelvic floor. Squeeze the imaginary block with your legs so that the legs are fired up. And inhale back up, releasing and relaxing. And exhale, feel the engagement of the core again. Inhale. Exhale, and I'm just going to say the word gather now. Inhale. Exhale and gather. Inhale up, exhale, gather. On our next inhale, we'll sweep forward and turn the right of the forward palm up. And on your exhale, come back, exalted warrior. So the back hand rests on the back leg, and the top arm is reaching up and over, sideways working here. Inhale back to the warrior two. Exhale, now take your front forearm to your front thigh in extended side angle. Press your forearm into your thigh and keep your body lifted. Inhale. Exhale, gather. Inhale, take the top arm up. Exhale, reach over towards the front of your sticky. And exhale, gather. On your next inhale, you'll straighten your front leg, take your top hand to your waist, and reach your bottom hand down, pressing into the front of your shin. Inhale, and exhale, gather. You can stay right here in this variation of Trikonasana triangle, where you could stretch the top arm up. At every exhale, feel the gathering. You could stay right here. You could add a little bit more work by bringing the bottom hand out towards the front of your body. Now see what's working. Inhale and exhale, gather. Take your bottom hand back to your shin, bend your front knee, and inhale, sweep up, bringing the feet to parallel to one another, and exhale your hands to your heart. Good. We'll inhale, reach the arms up, and on the exhale, turn the opposite foot now forward. Back foot turns, toes in, heels out ever so slightly, and then come down into warrior two on this side. So front leg bent, and we'll do that same vinyasa. So on the inhale, straighten the front leg, bring the arms up overhead. And on the exhale, as you bend your front knee and drop into your warrior, gather. Inhale. And exhale, gather. Gather your strength, gather your stability. Different than clenching, different than gripping. Inhale, exhale, inhale, and exhale. Inhale and exhale. And let's hold this warrior position. And find a gathering, pull up, pelvic floor, draw navel up and in. And you could even feel for your legs, squeezing the legs together with the imaginary block. So we're pulling the feet towards one another isometrically. Inhale to reach forward with the front hand. And exhale, slide the back hand down your leg, coming into exalted warrior. Inhale here for one breath. Exhale, gather. Inhale as you sweep the front arm forward, bend that at the elbow there, and bring your front forearm onto your front thigh. You can have your back hand on your waist. Take a round of breath to feel the gathering. And then inhale the top arm up and exhale over. Great. And then as you inhale, you can bring your top arm back to your hip. Inhale, straighten the front leg. Hand comes to the front of the shin, or maybe for you it's the thigh. So this is our triangle posture. And take a breath or two here to feel the gathering on the exhale. Top arm can stack over the bottom arm. Squeeze the legs together, draw the feet together isometrically. And then maybe the bottom arm out. Feeling what has to happen in your core, in the cylinder, to maintain this. Good to come out, bend the front knee, and sweep up. And exhale, hands to heart center. Good. All right, let's heel toe the feet closer to one another, about hip distance apart. And let's access the side waist again. So as we inhale the hands up, we'll scoot back here so you can see me. Take the left wrist with the right hand and side bend to the right. Press your hips in the opposite direction. Now you should feel just like on the floor, an opening on one side of the body and a contraction on the other. So actually we've got the obliques working on the long side, and on the other side, on the contracted side, rectus abdominis, transverse abdominis. Inhale back to center, switch the hand position and side bend in the other direction. So whatever direction your arms are reaching towards, press your hips in the opposite direction. Inhale back to center, and then we'll go one more time in each direction. And what does it feel like to stay? You have to keep accessing the strength of the core. We have to keep, when we're asked to stay, right, and be those we did warrior class a few weeks ago. To be those strong warriors, we're asked to stay. We've got to access. Inhale back to center, exhale, hands to the heart center, and release hands down to your side. We've got to access that deep stability, that deep strength. Good. So here we're just going to twist a little bit. So as you twist in one direction, come up onto the toes so the twist isn't in your knee. And we'll just sort of let some things go here. So I'm just rotating, twisting. And twisting takes the internal and external obliques, as well as the muscles in the back, the erector spinae. And now we're going to transition back to the floor, and we're going to do some plank or upward dandasana. So this can be quite challenging. So I'll give lots of variations for you in this posture. So let's go to our hands and knees first, and might turn and face you here. A little offset maybe. Yeah. So in your table position, before we go into plank, really press into your hands and round the upper back or the mid back towards the ceiling. I'm going to turn and face you this way for a sec. So as we press into the hands, we want the natural curve of the thoracic spine, the mid back, which is a little bit kyphotic, a little rounded. So that's what the thoracic spine should look like when we're in a plank. So press into your hands and see if you can find that little bit of lift in your mid back. And then isometrically pull your hands away from one another. Pull your hands away from one another. Great. Now isometrically pull the heels of your hands back towards your knees. Okay. And you should feel, now you feel some work in your arms, of course, but you should also feel the lower abdominal region firing up. So it'll feel a little different when we're on our toes. And variations for this, the legs can be in any position here. So you could have, we're gonna go to the full pose with the toes turned under, but you could also drop your knees and have sort of a 3/4 length body, right? For lack of a better way to explain that. But let's begin, if you can, with the toes turned under, pressing into your hands, round your back up towards the ceiling slightly, your thoracic mid-back. Draw your hands away from each other, and then draw your heels of your hands back towards, isometrically back towards your feet. And can you feel what happens in your core when you do that? Now squeeze the legs, so squeeze muscle onto bone. You might even think about squeezing the block between your thighs. Gather the navel up and in. Gather the pelvic floor. Good, release your knees to the floor and just rest back on your heels for just a couple of breaths. We'll go back and forth with this a few times. And it's a lot of work just to hold the plank, a lot of core strength just to hold the plank. So we'll revisit it a couple times if you need to roll your wrists out here before we go back. And we're going to add a few things, of course, because we always do get new things put on into our lives, right? And we have to call on some extraordinary inner strength. So let's come back to hands and knees, and then curl the toes under. Press the floor away with your hands and round your back a bit, your mid-back up towards the ceiling. Draw your hands away from each other isometrically, as if you're trying to pull the sticky mat apart. And then draw the heels of your hands isometrically back towards your toes. Now, I really feel that when I do that. That cue for me really makes the lower abdominals fire up. Good. And take your knees back to the floor. You can always come back to this. I'm certain you'll remember this and probably the next one. So you could do it for as long as you want later today or tomorrow or every day. Very good. Okay. All right, so now we'll come back into hands and knees. You can stay wherever you like in this sequence, and I'll just talk through this this next one that's going to be really fun. Okay, curl the toes under. Drop, press through the hands. And then reach the thoracic up towards the ceiling. Draw hands apart, heels back. Now drop your heels over to the left. Take your right hand to your left shoulder. You can stay there, or you can bring your right elbow towards your left elbow. And scoot back up. Drop your knees, drop your hips. We'll try the other side. So coming forward, come back into your plank position. Drop both heels to the left. Sorry, I had this a little backwards last time, so come back to your knees. Just looking at my notes here, apologize. Okay. We'll start in the plank again. Press your hands into the floor. Press your thoracic back up towards the ceiling. Draw hands apart, heels of hands back towards feet. Drop your heels to the left. Take your right hand to your right shoulder. Take your right elbow towards your left elbow. Press your right foot into the floor and lift your left leg. Release. Knees down. Hips back. Whew. Okay, lots of work there. Lots of work you should have felt, especially the obliques coming on at the end as we did the little twist. So let's try it to the other side. If you have shoulder issues, this is probably not the thing for you. You could go back to the plank, or you could work on a forearm plank with the arms, hands interlaced, or arms parallel to one another. But we'll do this other side, and then we'll come back to some of that. Good, so come into the plank. Drop your heels to the right. Pressing through the right hand, bring your left hand to your right shoulder. Bring your left elbow to your right elbow. Press into your left, keep the hips lifted. Press into your left foot and lift your right leg. The one that's, yep, so. And release. Release to your knees. Ooh, come down to child's pose. I'm going to talk through that one more time so you have it, and maybe you, if you didn't quite get it with the verbal instructions, you could watch. So we're in the plank position. I drop my heels to the left. My right hand comes to my left shoulder. My right elbow to my left elbow. And then I press into my right foot and lift my left leg. Keep the hips lifted. Sort of like a modified side plank. Hand back down, knees back down. We'll try the other side. Plank. Drop the heels to the right. Left hand to right shoulder. Left elbow to right elbow. Press into my left foot, this front foot, and lift my back leg. And release. Knees down, hips down. Resting in the child's pose. That was quite a lot on the shoulders too, so you could bring Your arms alongside in the full balasana shape, the child pose shape. And then on your next inhale, just come up onto your knees and reach your arms overhead. On your exhale, feel that gathering. We're slowing down now, but we're still working with the core. So we're gonna exhale and fold. Hands come to the sacrum, palms out, and draw the navel up and in, and gather the pelvic floor and gather the buttocks and come down to the floor. As far as per capacity of your hips and knees on this as well. And then inhale, sweep the arms up. And exhale, fold again, hands to the sacrum. Draw from the strength of your core as you draw yourself down into this more humble position with the hips back towards the heels. Inhale, reach up, and take this slow so you can really feel this. If you want to add a little bit more strength, you can have a longer lever by leaving one arm up, tucking the opposite hand to your back and coming down. And then when you come up, you're going to really engage in your core to even come up because you've got this long lever. And then exhale, both hands come to the sacrum. Inhale, sweep the other arm up, and exhale, fold. And you might even peek inside here and bring some attention to that metaphorical idea of where you gather your strength. What gives you strength? What gives you stability? It is quite personal. And that's why it takes sometimes a lot of work to be true to ourselves. So we get pulled away from our inner core to what other people are doing or saying or believing. So what is close to the bone for you? What really matters? Good. We'll fold down into the child's pose one more time. Releasing our arms alongside. Now just letting everything go. And there's two options for finishing class. You could come back to the crocodile shape with hands on the outer arms, just above the elbows, and rest your head on your forearms. Taking your Shavasana here and sensing in your body, in your core, both the strength of your core and the space in your core. If this is uncomfortable in any way, just roll to your back in a more traditional Shavasana shape. Feet are wide to the bottom corners of your mat. Palms are up. And you might even take your hands. Sometimes I like to tuck my shoulders underneath and then bring my hands to my belly. If it doesn't quite work for some reason, you can put a block underneath your two elbows. That sometimes makes it a little easier to access here. And then let your eyes close down. And just connect again with the breath. So the breath, the movement in the body that happens with respiration. That is the breath. Sensing the space and strength. And hopefully you're now very relaxed in your abdominal area, relaxed in the hips. If not, explore what might still be holding here and see if you can let that go. You're welcome to remain in Shavasana for as long as you like. And if you are ready, you can come back up to a seat. And even here in the sitting position, we want this slight engagement. We want to find our stability and our strength so that we sit with an upright spine, crown reaching towards the ceiling, towards the heavens, firmly grounded. So we've outsourced a lot of our strength and stability to chairs. Right? So bring your hands in front of your heart center in a gesture of prayer that works for you. May the merit of our practice, may the gathering of inner strength and inner stability, may the merit of our practice encourage all beings everywhere to unveil the hidden brilliance. So the inner work, the outer work, and we're always moving back and forth with that. Namaste. Thanks for being here, everyone.